Hey there, welcome. I am Brandon DeVere. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I do appreciate that. Today, very excited for our guest. Today, I'm joined by one of the top real estate team leaders here in Nevada, as well as a national leader in our industry, Miss Nora Aguirre. Nora, how are you today?
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. You know, I've been looking forward to this for a while. We've been kind of missing each other on some connections to try and figure out a time to get together or just even have a conversation. And I'm happy that we're able to do it on this type of platform and medium, so people can get to know you and get to know you through conversation. So you're born and raised here? Is that correct?
I was not. No. I was born in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was born in Mexico, in a state called Durango, like our street here in Las Vegas. So I was born in Durango, and my family, we migrated here when I was 6 years old to Vegas, and it's been home ever since. So I grew up. So basically, I'm a Vegas girl.
Yeah.
So for sure, but so you can say first generation immigrant, and so it's been an interesting ride for sure.
Okay, and so that opens up a lot of doors for conversation. But I mean, how did that? You know, we'll go through and discuss a little bit how you became an agent and things like that. But I mean, just first off, you're growing up. You're moving here. You said when you're 6 years old.
Yeah.
Can you remember, like, what was it like?
Yeah. I remember. So I've always been a little bubbly. I was a firstborn for my parents, and then also the first granddaughter on my father's side. And so that's the grandparents I grew up with. And so, they were very happy to have, a child. And so I was blessed with that. So then what happens is I come to the United States. And so obviously when we got here, we weren't living definitely not in the best areas. I grew up in Lake Las Vegas Boulevard. So, and so basically, I remember going to schools and there's a lot of stuff going on. And I remember just saying, learning, no way, Jose. I didn't know how to speak English properly.
Okay.
So that was it was like a thing that you can kind of play around with. And I remember saying that so often that, it's still stuck today. It's like, no way, Jose. Just, that was the conversation that I would have. So that was pretty much first grade for me. And then second grade, we went into this program, and I think that you guys know a lot where you take kids that are in this neighborhood and you put them in a different neighborhood. So I was part of that program.
Okay.
So they grabbed me from the neighborhood I was was in, and they put me in. At that time was really great neighborhood that, for me, the houses, the way that, the bus would drive up and I would see all of this nice, beautiful, landscape being in front of the houses. It was just exciting. And that happened for me in second grade. I think that's also part of a huge part of, I wanted to do better, be better, because I was around, in a school where there was kids that, that their parents took them to school. Like my parents didn't. My parents went to work. I had to take the bus on my own. And, I would see the little girls. I remember till this day, I would see the little girls, they would show up with their hair, completely done, brushed thoroughly. And it was for me, it was in the morning as a little girl, you don't have all that, right? They looked really beautiful. And so I really kind of took to that in a way of I want to, I think there's something there. And so I always wanted to be good in school. I wanted to interact with teachers. So that kind of led me to, want to be a good student or kind of want to be somebody that does good, so that hopefully I can get a little bit of extra support and help, right? So that was elementary school. So that was the school, William E. Farron. So now it's Flamingo and Mountain Vista. Okay. So at that time, it was just it was really good. And I was there till fifth grade. So, and then back to middle school back in, Karen and Las Vegas Boulevard, right?
Okay.
So I got a taste of a lot of things really young. And as an immigrant, I think that definitely sparked that, there is a better way and I want to be part of that and I want to help. And so I was already a little bit, like I said, spontaneous, or I wanted more. My grandma played a big role. I talk about her often and always saying that, I see something in you. I see something in you. And that was huge because I believed her, and she definitely poured into me very early on. I don't bring my parents up at that time because my parents were, working hard, working tough jobs, not around, tired, all of these things. And, for me, the grandma was the special person that did believe in me, because she kind of was in that stage of her life a little bit more relaxed. She wasn't living in Vegas. She was living in Mexico. So I left her behind in a way. So when she would come to Vegas, and spend some time, it was like, for me, it was like Disneyland when she was here, because she would pour so much into us, and she was there giving us attention, versus my parents, they were working, which is probably the story of a lot of immigrant kids, is their parents are working. They don't have sometimes the attention of, the adults in their lives. So they're kind of growing up, and with the struggle as well, trying to figure it out, on their own, right? With siblings sometimes. So that's a deep dive, actually.
Well, no, that's really impressive. And it's amazing to have that. I was going to ask, was there a turning point? We'll get into that as well, but first and second grade, you're already being formed into who you are today, which is, it's pretty amazing and incredible to have a grandparent, especially to come in and it sounds like she didn't pour into you like a spoiling grandparent. It was pouring into you in a way that was like, I want you to be the best version of you, and I want you to have this belief in you, which is a very difficult. Even myself, thinking about, I read stuff. I read about these things all the time, and I'm like, I know I should be doing them, and then I'll catch myself off guard, being like, oh, maybe you should have said this differently to your son. He's 12 right now, and how can I instill this confidence and strength in him more mentally than physically, obviously. But even I'm not sure how long ago that was, but it was probably some time ago. That to have that influence. So I think that's incredible. And then moving into the real estate space, how long have you been in, and what kind of made you go down that path?
Yeah. So I've been in real estate now. It's going to be over 20 years. And I always talk a little bit about, the reason why I got into real estate. It wasn't because I saw it as a career. Nobody offered it as a career when I was going to college or or in high school. But I joined the Nevada National Guard at the age of 17. Okay. Because of how I grew up, being the oldest, grandma, really pouring into me, I really felt like I had a role in my family to be somebody, to do something, right? At that time, being somebody and doing something meant going to college. Nobody else was going to college. So it was go to college, and of course the perfect degree was, be a social worker. So I kind of, there was a lot of problem solving growing up with family, with friends, even with my parents. When your parents, when your parents are immigrants, and you as well, they don't speak the language the way you do. So you're in there helping them, with documents, all these things. So problem solver, I think I can remember till, age of 7, 8, problem solving, helping, babysitting, providing some sort of support for family as well. So I grew up fast. I grew up really fast, and you can say, that maybe I didn't have a childhood, right? Yeah. So grew up super fast, started working at 13 years old, this and that. So I joined, I thought at 17, okay, great. What's next? I joined the military. I wanted to go to college and really do a really good job, because I wasn't informed during high school that you needed to apply for scholarships until I was already a senior. I got a scholarship, the one that you kind of just get because of your GDP and GPA. I'm sorry, GPA, yeah. And you just kind of automatically get that, and so nothing else. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to work through college. I'll do the military, and I felt proud of myself in a lot of ways, because I was doing a lot of things, and my parents, of course, felt really proud. And that was part of what is it? What you get, you don't get that star, but when you're making your parents proud at that age, you're just you're approval, on top, but you're just, so grandma. So I feel, I felt that way all throughout my young years, because I was always going above and beyond what they thought. They're like, of course you're smart. You've been smart since you were, yes. So I'm doing all of that, join military, go to, sign up for college, come back, doing community college because I'm saving the money. Then I'll go to UNLV, all of this. So I had a plan already. Then at that time, my parents decided to buy another house. They had already owned a property, buy another house. I'm involved completely while I'm in the military, while I'm, away. And the agent, my parents decided to work with an agent that didn't speak Spanish, doesn't speak Spanish till today. And because they really felt a connection with him, that he was just a really nice, authentic person. I asked him, do you want me to find you somebody that speaks Spanish? No, Mark Barry's his name, and he's no longer in real estate. An amazing person. So my parents wanted to stay with him. So I interacted with him a lot because of that. So Mark starts telling me, Nora, you should get your real estate license. There's an opportunity for you. I was like, no, thank you, Mark. I already have this figured out. Thank you so much. I don't even know what that is, but no, thank you. He kept on insisting because my parents went under contract in a new house. So we were interacting for like 8-9 months at that time. Wow. And so he insisted, and he finally, and I remember him telling me, because one of the things was like, I already have my plan, like, this is my plan, and I want to stick with it. Thank you so much. No, thank you. And he finally just said, look, this real estate thing is easy. You can do it whenever you want to, so you don't have to like think that you're leaving that. So that was the key for me when he said that, to say, okay. So when he said, it's not going to take too much time, you can do whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So then I said, okay, send me the information. I'll go get my license. So it took me about a year. I wasn't really trying to get my license. It took me about a year to get my license. I ended up getting my license around 20. So now you guys know how old I am. Got my license around 1920. And at that time, real estate was just a side thing. Like what I think most agents think of. Real estate, let me go in, make some great money. There's great money there. And then I'll get out and really do my dream job or whatever it is, right? So at that moment, real estate wasn't what I thought was going to be part of my life. It was just going to be something like a quick chapter in my book of my life, and that was it, right? Of course, I started, kind of doing some sales, nothing major. And at that time, obviously, doing college, doing everything I was already doing. I had that plan that I had. And then here comes the recession, right? So that's when a lot of things changed, and also how I saw real estate in my career completely changed after the recession, right? So I'll pause there because I know I can, I don't know. I know you're thinking.
Well, no, I'm like, I have a couple different things in my mind. I'm one of them is that I'm two of them, but one is that I'm so happy that we're having this conversation today. Like literally 2 hours ago, my son is getting braces for the first time, and the orthodontist is sitting there, and we've had this conversation. Like, he on the way home, he's like, oh, I can't have Sour Patch Kids. Like, I have a half a bag. I just opened last night, and so I have a half a bag that's gonna have to wait 18 months. But we were talking about delayed gratification, and and how important this lesson is for him to have his braces. Because the reason I'm bringing that up is because all of the we haven't even you just left off on probably a lot of adversity that you're about to overcome. But even before, like coming in and I was wondering if that was going to happen at some point where you were going to run into somebody that wasn't Spanish speaking, and then even at first grade was the language barrier there, and I know how real it is. My suegra, my mother-in-law lives with us, and I'm often on Google Translate. She lives with us for 10 years.
Okay, so your wife is Hispanic.
Yes. Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So her parents are from Jalisco, and then she moved out here from California. But yes, we should be. I'm kicking myself for not like immersing myself and learning Spanish, mainly because I want people to look at me and talk trash about me, not know that I can speak Spanish. I just want to respond. But no, really, I prefer to be able to hold down a conversation. Yeah. But I know how difficult that can be, and a lot of our in-laws, I've helped buy and sell homes, and I've actually had one in-law that told my nephew they went and bought with someone else that didn't go well. And he later then told my nephew that he didn't want to use me because he didn't want to be embarrassed that he didn't speak English. And I was like, oh, I hope I'm not putting out that vibe that you're thinking that, because that's obviously not I'm not putting in, I don't speak 2 languages. He does, so I can see how those things kind of happen. So those are the couple of things that I wanted to bring up and from what you had been talking about so far. But now here we are, hit the recession. Like, now what? Yeah.
No, I mean, so growing up with the language barrier, I mean, I can tell you that obviously it helped, and we talk a lot about this. That when kids are young and they quickly adapt and grab onto the language, and it's like, okay, I can speak English really, but here's the next part to it is, even like, then I went into, the military, and then I went into, other rooms and other places where people were really speaking like English jokes, like all of the, the sarcasm, that you have. Yeah. And I didn't know that. Like, I knew the English of like getting through high school or whatever, and just, turning it, but I didn't know all of that. And so that was also a very interesting thing for me, was like, man, it's like I am so, so kind of far behind. Not only that, is I started noticing like, okay, our school, public school here in Nevada is, is what it is. Yeah. Like, so we're not like really very well educated either. So it's like, on top of the fact that I'm immigrant and like my, at home, this is not, I'm not speaking English at home. I'm speaking Spanish, and the jokes and everything is in Spanish. On top of that, it's like, education's not really great. So I started noticing that when I got older, and then you really begin to understand, like, man, like, yeah, they're like, I have to work a little extra harder here. Yeah. And so it's part of it, right? It's part of, for me, I think a lot of people that we probably follow and listen to talk about that. Being a student the rest of your life is so important, and not getting stuck to like, oh my gosh, this sucks for me, like, and it sucks and it's done. Yeah. It's like, no, like, you can be a student and you can take it at your own pace. So, I mean, I can tell you that I dealt with it, but it wasn't like a big deal for me, and that's probably why today in real estate, and the way that we're seeing the landscape in real estate and how things are changing and evolving, I think that might be one of the advantages that is with me today. That I'm like, oh, okay, this is how it was, but it's not that way anymore. Like, let's move on. Like, we can't cry about it for too long, and I can't. Like, it is what it is. So I learned that really quick. I also learned and saw, growing up in, public school, in certain areas, especially when I went into middle school, that, people do judge you based on the color of your skin, and based on, how you look, and then based on how you speak. And for me, it was really interesting because I grew up in a rough part of town in a way. But a lot of people would say the first thing, I had teachers tell me, first thing is like, oh, I didn't know you were Mexican. But then when they would hear me speak or something, like I would share something, and it's like, oh, now they knew that I'm not like American, right? Like, so it's like, oh, I didn't know you were like, are you from Mexico? So they would begin to, people they did place those labels, right, on you for whatever reason. So, and I was very aware of that, and I didn't like that ever. Like, I didn't like, okay, you're not Mexican. So instead of me feeling like, oh, I'm glad that you're saying that I don't, like, I wanted to look Mexican. I wanted to look the way, who I was, right? Like, because I was often getting that, those comments and stuff, and then it was like, oh, it's a surprise, you are. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I tell them, like, Mexicans come in all different shapes and colors. Yeah. And, I'm very tall and things like that. I'm like, where I'm from, my family, the state I was born in, like, there's a lot of people that look like me there. Like, tall, light skinned, we're all like, there's nothing about us that's not Mexican. Like, we're like, for us, it's very common. They're like, oh, okay, because this is how I see, the Mexican prototype. And so that actually did suck sometimes, because for me, obviously, when you're in the rough side of town, you want to be part of you want to have your group, which is your Hispanic, your Mexican. But they too are like, hold on, you don't look like us. Like, I haven't seen too many, So it was like, you're stuck in the middle, because you're not, there's a saying in Spanish, no eres ni de aquí ni de allá. It's saying you're not from here and you're not from there either. So that's kind of how I grew up, because I did look different to what people were accustomed, the stereotype to be, right? So that's like a full podcast session, and that had its own things. But
I know exactly what you're talking about, because my wife experienced some of the same things.
Yeah.
So she's more light skinned sometimes. Well, not right now, but sometimes after summer I'm even darker than her. She's working inside and I'm out and about. But I remember her even going back and tell me stories like, go back home, or not home, but go back to visit family, and would be kind of like, you're not like, even her home family was kind of like, huh? Well, you're not from here.
You're not from here,
you're not
which
from
is
there.
which is also a thing. I say, we experience even a lot of discrimination within our own race. That's the truth, right?
Yeah.
You look different. You do. I mean, we see this I have a lot of friends from different, backgrounds, and we all say that. It's like, if you are this, then they put you in a category. You must not have a hard life as we do, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So, but, like I said, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
But after the recession, for me, during the recession, tough, terrible. We have the scars, we have the wounds, right? They're healed at this point. But during that period, what ended up happening was that obviously I had never experienced making that type of money that I made before the recession. Obviously, nobody around me was making that money. My parents definitely were not. So yeah, we acquired certain things we shouldn't acquired. We bought, we lived above our means. And so clearly in 2008, I lost everything, right? And I was, and I had been in the business, you could say like maybe 2-3 years, but it was very casual, very like not a serious, because I wasn't serious about it. And that's the truth. So lost everything, and at that moment had to really make a decision on what I was going to do moving forward. Was I going to continue with college? Because even that was tough. Even though I had like a scholarship and all these things, that was tough. So at that moment, I did a lot of, soul searching, a lot of, self-development, leadership. Like I believe in that tremendously. Yeah. Obviously books. I mean, so I went in and I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay, and this is going to be tough. And I mean, all the financial plus, if I mentioned to you, all those years I had been like the pride and joy of my family, because I was always accomplishing more than they expected. At that moment, for me to fail in front of them and to lose, my home and lose these things, that was huge for me. I felt like a big failure on top of, what was happening financially. I really didn't want to look at my family and have them see that from me, because it was just, I had always been rewarded, for being so on top of it, so ahead of things. And so it was painful, got through that. And how I ended up with real estate and it becoming like a part of me and my passion was because I was struggling with the college thing. I wanted to go back to college, finish my degree. I had close to 1.5 years left, and then and real estate was terrible. So there was a moment where I had to really sit down and like confused about it all. And obviously I also can tell you that there's a huge belief in, God, right? I have, that's a big part of my life as well. And so through that kind of meditation, praying, there was a moment where I felt the connection. There was a client and she was telling me, because I'm very patient. Like I'm not your typical salesperson, because that's not what what moves me. Like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm closing this person in 5 seconds and they're done and I'm getting a paycheck, right? That's a typical salesperson. They have that attitude, right?
You're beyond
really awesome.
You're beyond transactional.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
So for me, what would give me kind of was I would take my time. And so I had a client at that time in 2008-9, and she was like, we're sitting, and she was telling me, look, and they assigned me to her at the time because the VIP salesperson of our team didn't want her, right? Because he's like, he's like, hey, whoever wants this client, good luck on closing her, good luck on getting her home. She's not going to buy. And he pretty much went like this. I walk into the room and I'm like, I'll take her. I don't understand. I'll take her. So I go in and we did our process. She's close to closing. And she told me, she's like, I remember the day I walked into your office and I remember, and I saw what happened. That gentleman that was with me, if it was up to him, I wouldn't have been able to buy a house. I wouldn't be buying a house today. And I just want to say thank you so much. And so that gave me the reward.
Yeah.
That gave me the reward that, oh my gosh. And it woke me up. It woke me up to realize, my goodness, what I wanted to go to college for is exactly what I'm doing with real estate. So why am I fighting myself and all these things so much and in turmoil for this crazy reason? Because I had my perfect plan and that wasn't going that way. So now, guess what? I'm actually in the same position doing things that I absolutely would love to do, which is help somebody that has a terrible situation or has a desire or a dream, and I'm helping them navigate through to a finished result. That's ultimately what we're doing every single day, especially with first-time home buyers. That's why I say so much that I love first-time home buyers, because that's the journey with them. They're scared. They're this. There's so much. There's confusion. Is it the right time? And then all of a sudden you help them through that. They get their keys, and we're celebrating. That's what a social worker in a lot of ways is going to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and what's better than, I'm sure you've heard this multiple times, as have I, like, I can't believe we just bought a house. I can't believe we were able to, because they've been told so many times that they can't, and discouraged for whatever reason. Unfortunately, our industry sometimes will have some people in it that are very, self-serving and will be like, not enough commission on that one, or this one's taking too long, or this one's not this, just as you just said.
They need a lot of help. This person needs a lot of help. They need to go fix their credit. They need to go do this. They need to go save some money. They need to go do all these things, and that's a couple of years. So guess what? Call me when you're ready.
Yeah.
And it's like all of that. So that moment changed everything for me, because at that moment I was like, you know what? I do love what I do. And at that moment, I changed everything about how I worked. Yeah. I began to work longer, more consistently. I began to do the things that a top producer does, which is, how do I plan this? How do I plan this for the long haul? Because I love it, and I'm going to be here for a long time. And how do I build this into a business? Because to me, the part that was a little bit that kind of repelled me in the beginning was that the commission. Everybody, all the people that were top agents and top salespeople, all they talked about all the time was their money and their commission, and that wasn't the attraction for me. So it was like, I don't know, these guys, they're great, but like I don't see myself like in here, like it. So, but when it shifted, and I was like, no, it's not about that. Like that's those folks, and that's okay, that's fine. But for me, it was this. How could I build something that I'm proud of? And actually, not that I forgot about going back to college or anything like that, but I don't. It doesn't have to be like the original way that I thought about it. And we're still going to get results, and we're still going to help families and help change lives through real estate. Because then I began to really see and open up that opportunity and see, my goodness, when families have access to equity, when families have the pride of being an owner versus a renter, there's actual research that shows that like kids that grow up in homes that the parents owned have a higher probability of making it, right? Going a little bit. So to me, that became kind of that moment, and then from there, I can tell you, that was like right around 2010. Okay. Game changed completely. So the last 15 years of my career, been super intentional, working my tail off all the time and loving, I love it. Like I really thought that by the age that I am today and how hard we've been working and grinding and all of that, I'd probably be a little bit tired to say, oh, you know what, at this point, thank you. But I'm going to kind of tone it down a little bit. We've made some great decisions over the years with investing. We've made, we've done great in real estate. And so now we're going to, but the truth is, like, I feel great. I feel really good, because I do see that our industry has a lot of great people in it. Actually, some of my bestest friends. So that whole thing of like all these salespeople, this is what they're looking like, I don't want to be part of that, shifted to, oh my gosh, like, yes, there's people that'll do it just for the money. I get it, and that's fine. But there's also so many of us that do it and that are out here going above and beyond because we truly love this to another level, and we know the results, right, in a person's life. So, yeah.
Well, so to speak on that point is that my challenge, again, if you're doing it for money, that's perfect. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
99% of people go do their jobs for money, right?
You're right. Yes.
But not saying that we're like holier than thou for that not being the driving force.
No.
But the barometer for success has always been you're talking about doing it for the commission, and what's funny is that we're rewarding this GCI. Well, I made $1 million in GCI, took home 150. Like that. The number is just a number. Yes. I've said this multiple times. I had a guest on here. We talked about, like, for me, if you want to sell 300 homes or 3 homes a year, if you achieve either one of those and that's what you wanted to do, that to me, you're successful. And
100%.
And so I know some agents that do a lot of deals and aren't necessarily any better than the people that don't. And then I know some soccer parents, some team parents that are great agents that do a handful of deals a year, and they just care so much for their clients that, you know, one is not the right answer of the other.
Yeah.
They can both exist. You and I happen to root for the same or on the same team as far as what we're talking about, and people having, you know, changing lives and things like that, where it can be rewarding when you get that, and it can also not be rewarding sometimes. You know, I've had some clients where I was like, oh, wow, that was rough, you know, but it was, you know, we got it through, but it was like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? I'm not sure. Yeah. And then I have somebody, my most recent closing, where it was it was kind of a crazy story. It was a mother in her 60s, her 42-year-old son lived with her and his wife, and they were doing IVF for 8 years. Didn't take. They decided not to do it anymore. She gets pregnant. So, beautiful. So now all of a sudden the house that they're all in is going to be too small. So they're wanting to move to a new home, and they get in there, and, you know, the whole time she's worried. Oh my, Brandon, we can't lose this. This is like all, you know, as we do, we protect a little bit of, you know, you're not going to try and freak you out on everything. And then at the walkthrough, when she got the keys, she just broke down and was in tears and was just like, I haven't been able to sleep in months. Like, just, you know, she kind of worked herself up and got to that point. But like, those are the moments where you're like, you know, we got here. We got here together. Absolutely.
Yeah. The reward. If that's so my son is now kind of like shadowing my son's 19, 20.
Okay.
And so if you do the math, I was pregnant, you know, the whole, got married young. My husband, we're still together all these years.
Congrats.
So it's, you know, it's been that, right? So, but my son's like shadowing and doing all that stuff, right? You know, he's seen what we call the struggle, right? The hard work, all the long days, and mom's not there, right? Like you know, he grew up a lot around, you know, la tia, aunt, mom, grandma, and then mom was there for the, you know, hyper important events, right? Yeah. It was quality, not quantity, right? Because I was, you know, building all these years, and so he goes in and he starts helping me like videotape. And I was like, hey, I'd love for you to come and videotape some of the closings and the testimonials that we have and all of this. Because, you know, we know, like, yeah, I can hire a photographer, but sometimes it changes. Like all of a sudden it's 3:00. Okay, no, now it's going to be 12 and I have my whole team. So it's like, okay, it's so easy. Okay, Mom, let's do it. So we're there, and, you know, I think probably upon the third one, and we had, you know, exactly a single mother with her son, like 2-3 years old, and we're handing her this beautiful little house, you know, two bedroom, 3 bath, you know, car garage, and she's walking, and then her mom shows up, and like, you know, they're celebrating, and, you know, we're capturing it. But you know, when I asked her if she wanted to say something, but I always say, like, I don't need you to talk about me. I want you to talk to other buyers, other people that need to hear, you know, what you went through, and hopefully can get a little bit of that, you know. And so she was saying it, and as she was saying it, you know, she was crying. She was saying, like, for me to have this at this time with my son and really prove it to myself. And then her mom is like out here screaming into it, like, we're so proud of her, like, you know, oh my God, like, so we're all crying, right? And so it's done. My son tells me, he's like, Mom, you know what? Now I know why you're so addicted to this. Like because he see all this time he sees the background, like all of the struggles at the office, what we're doing, Mm-hmm. But this is the true reward. Now I don't work directly with my clients as much. It's more of my team, so I don't get to see that as often anymore. You know, I'm behind kind of the camera or doing other stuff. So he was like, now I know why you could easily become, you know, like addicted to that of seeing those results. And making sure that you're part of that all the time. Like, as long as we have an opportunity to do so, we will always like show up to help, you know, no matter how hard the deal may be or the transaction may be, like, we'll jump in and we'll make sure that we can help, right? Yeah. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. And it is definitely rewarding. It can be very, very rewarding. And like the deal that I was talking about, it was a 4-month process. Yeah. It was new construction, but it was like all kinds of inner workings. They didn't want to list their house. They didn't want anybody to see it. So there were like, it was a whole thing that we ended up working through. But so there's only one of you, as you bring up your team, there's only one of you
Yeah.
And because I want to get an idea of why it is that you decided to build a team.
Yeah.
But did it have any effect to be like, okay, there's only one of me, I can only impact so many people.
Yeah.
Like, was there anything in like the back of your mind that was like, if I can get an army of impactors,
Yeah.
If I can teach them the right way, we could have even more of an impact on that?
Yeah, so I kind of left off in telling you that, I was part of this team, and I was kind of like at the bottom of the food chain at the team, right? I got, I did it. I worked my way, in that team, I worked my way up to the sales manager. So I eventually became the person leading the agents, the buyer's agents in that team. From that point forward, the team leader decided to change completely the dynamic of what he was going to do. Instead of just having his own personal team, he decided to open up a brokerage. And at that time, it wasn't going to be like just his team. It was going to be like brokerage, leads type of thing. And so at that moment, it was almost like a little bit of a push to say, okay, now like what you thought, like, okay, I worked my tail off to become kind of that leader in that team, and that kind of like that sidekick for this big team agent. It changed. And so at that moment I was like, okay, so but I'm very grateful, because during that period, I learned what it really takes on a day-to-day basis to build and to do and to have that many, to have that many transactions at the end of the day, lives, right?
Yeah.
Impacted. And so at that moment, I was thinking, there was my brother also, so it's three, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So it's my middle brother, so the brother right next to me, he had just gotten his real estate license, and he was much younger. And I was like, well, then the dynamic changed completely, and I said at that moment, you know what? I've learned how to work really hard within the real estate, because sometimes agents don't know what to do. And that's the truth. It's like, do I call people? Like, what do I do for the whole day? Yeah. Like, do I go and show up to like open houses? Like, so I learned that productivity because I was part of a highly efficient team for a while, not 2 days, for a while. And at that moment I was like, my gosh, but I never wanted to be the person in the front. I've always had, I mean, we talk about this now that I'm, that I've been around a lot of wonderful people and leaders. We talk a lot about this. It's kind of like the immigrant thing, the feeling. You never want to be the person in the front. You believe yourself to be the hardest worker. You can do all the back end stuff, but the front is like maybe not for you. Okay. And so at that moment, I had to shift that. And again, go through some definite training for myself, and like really soul searching again, and say, okay, do I want to do this now for Nora Aguirre? And built a Nora Aguirre team. And at that moment, it was really wonderful. Like my brother, he's new, but he's, again, it could be that we're Hispanic. It could be that, he's male, I'm female. It doesn't matter. But for him, it was like, oh yeah, you could do it. Like no brainer. Like yeah. So at that moment, he's like, I got you. Like I'll be your agent. Like I was like, awesome. So we just went the direction of that. I was pretty much the leader. He was my buyer's agent, and then I hired a part-time transaction manager, because I knew that from the moment in the way that I had been operating, that I needed somebody managing paperwork every day and doing all that stuff. So I put that together, and I mean, again, what they say, right? Even if you lost everything today, you could probably rebuild it, because the motions. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up going on my own at that time. So the Nora Aguirre team I've had the Nora Aguirre team for like 12 years. Oh, wow. And the first 2 years, I remember looking at the rankings, right? And thinking like, man, it's going to be tough, as far as for me, not because it wasn't the numbers, but it was, for me, it was confirmation that I was doing the work, and I was, and I was basically going to also have the reputation to go along with it. And so it took us about 2 years. After the second year of being on our own, we started popping up in that, 1% of all the agents. Wow. We started, it was my brother, that part-time transaction manager, and we were doing like 60, 70 transactions, just all of it, and then just going forward, moving. And then we started getting into, there's a saying out there, agents don't get rich from selling real estate, which is so true, guys. It's so true, right? Yeah. Some of us do a really good job of showing off and being flashy and all this stuff. But the truth is, true wealth does come from like owning the real estate and getting into actually being a business owner in that way. So at that time, we went into that direction as well. Started building our investments. investment portfolio, doing flips, and that was like 2013. So it was really good. And so all of it just was, what is it? The compound effect.
Yeah. Yep.
And the compound effect. And so 2015, we're on the radar. And that's kind of when I was introduced to NAHREP. I knew about NAHREP because there's events all over. And NAHREP had been in Vegas for a long time already.
Can you just explain NAHREP real quick?
Absolutely.
Just real quick?
So NAHREP's the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. It's an organization right now with over 50,000 members, close to 100 chapters nationwide. And so we are, we basically, we've done the research. We're the #1 Latino business organization in the country. And so very proud. So at that moment, I'm minding my own business, hustling, working very hard. I had actually already participated in VA rep, because I'm, a veteran.
Yeah.
So I was doing some work, some kind of volunteer work. But what I was really focused on was making sure that our team, because this, you can have a really good year. It doesn't mean doesn't guarantee you're going to have the next year. Yeah. So we're working on that. And so I was approached for from NAHREP on the national level, and they were asking, hey, there'd be an interest for this to happen in Vegas, And then my response was, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. And it just kept coming. This is especially the way you do, but how you're passionate about, I always say I'm super passionate about first-time home buyers. And, you're doing it, right? So at that time, after, months of saying no, finally I'm like, you know what, again, is it something? And, after, consulting and things like that with myself and, I was like, okay. So I decided, and that to me was a big decision. Doing it locally was a big decision. And do I get sidetracked? Because now it's we believe tremendously in my team pays a price as well. Yeah. I do something, I take away from them.
Yeah.
So it's at that time, it's guys, I'm going to go do this. It's for, let's see what let's see how it helps us, how it supports our first time home buyers, because really I wasn't too aware of all of the details of what the organization did. I just thought that there was more of social events and hangout, networking events. Yeah. So we said yes. So we started, and that's why I say we, because it's my team. It's okay, got it, go for it, So that then, of course, led to now this past year, and beginning of this year, I became the national president for NAHREP, right?
Well, congratulations!
Thank you.
That's amazing. You said of 50,000 people, you're national president of 50,000, and then you started the branch out here then?
Yeah.
As well?
So there's 2 chapters in Vegas currently, and two chapters. Mm-hmm. So they're basically an extension of our national headquarters. And so I started the second one here in Vegas, and that second one that started wasn't the easiest time starting the second one, because there was, there's a lot of opinions and there's a lot of different, comments, why a second one and things like that. And it's hard, because everyone, when you're explaining something, everyone thinks, I'm calling bull, right?
Yeah,
I'm calling bull. They don't understand it, and then there could be this kind of negative thing about why is there a second one? Well, it's because the dynamic of how the chapters were led changed. It changed right around 2014, where chapters before then were managed locally, meaning they would do whatever they wanted. In a lot of sense, right? And then after that, the NAHREP the decision was, hey, let's operate under an umbrella, and this should be the way that it operates. So instead of you having one event a month as a local chapter, because this is a volunteer position, so nobody's getting paid for all of this. National's hey, how about we take that back? You guys only do 4 events a year. And that's it. So in Vegas, at one point in Vegas, we had events that had over 1,000 people, right?
Oh, wow.
So we're well, what would be fair is that you can divide that responsibility, and there could be 2 chapters. One does 4 events, one does 4 events in a calendar year, and it should be easy peasy, and everybody doesn't get burdened by these volunteer positions, right? Because we want, the motto that we have at NAHREP, and Gary Acosta, who's our CEO, has always said is what can I do to help my Hispanic community? So a lot of these agents, the first thing you can do is go out there and be highly successful yourself. That's the first thing you can do. Then from there, of course, volunteer and all these things that you want to do, volunteer for roles, but that's the first thing you should be able to do because that helps our overall, our overall numbers and the opportunity for impact, right? So yeah, that was how the second one came about, and that was tough, very tough locally. And then from there on, I'm like, okay, I'll be done soon here locally. And, at that point it was like, well, can you come and help with this on a national level? And can you help with this? And, I'm like, because the more till today, the more that I've been involved with the organization, the more I'm able to see the power and the love that we harness for our community on a national level. There's no way I can say no, right? Because there is just so much that the organization on a national level does, much more than just these networking events, right? We're invited to speak, in special rooms where people that make important decisions about our community, we pushed, for example, with the last election for DACA, right? There's a lot of changes with DACA financing and all these things where FHA cut it off. Now, it changed as well in May. And those effects have a huge impact on our community. And so NAHREP does a lot of those things. We don't put it out there as, every other day saying, hey, we're in this room, we're delivering the message, we're pushing, but that's what we're doing. And so I'm very proud of what the organization does. And so, like I mentioned, in 2015, when I got invited to open up, I was not very clear, but I, again, dove right in and said, okay, let me figure this out. Let me figure out how this connects with me. And then when I figured it out quickly, I was like, oh my gosh, I started connecting the dots and really understanding the value that the organization brings for our community, really, and our professionals that are helping the Hispanic community, because you don't have to be Hispanic to help the Hispanic community.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. If you were, if the membership is no. Okay, so anybody can join.
Anybody can join, and we have a lot of people that have been true trailblazers for our community that are not Hispanic. I'm telling you specifically for myself. I got into real estate not because anybody invited me that was Hispanic. It was like, non-Hispanic agent who said, you could help, and I'll bring you in under my wing. So there's a lot of that happening. And so, the organization, once I was able to connect and say, oh my goodness, there's a lot of ingredients here, and there's a wonderful thing happening. And of course, I've had that always of contributing in a way to my community. And so, I'm helping here. At that time, we were doing 150, 180 transactions, maybe 200, and we were really doing really well. But I'm like, well, how about helping? Absolutely, empowering more agents. So that they can go out there and help in different areas of the country. And that became like my next thing of like, man, I definitely am. We are in the same, track. And so it was super easy to then be involved and continue to assist however I can.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, it's clear that you're like a natural, true leader. And so, in order, Brandon, in order to because those things where leadership comes from sometimes is even like you're saying you were in a spot where you're like, nope, I'm not the leader.
Yeah.
But then without seeking that, it kind of seeked you to be called on to do those things. So I do think that's incredible and good to know. So if anybody wants to join NAHREP, they can, whether you're listening to it here in our market here in Las Vegas or across the country, definitely take the opportunity to figure out where would they find more information.
So we have our website, nahrep.org, and from there you can go on that website on a national level and also see the chapters in your community. Maybe there's one, or maybe there's not a chapter in your community, but you still want to be part of it. You can, and we have 2 national events that we host a year that are absolutely amazing. And then we actually have regional events that are happening all throughout the country throughout the year, right? Okay. Smaller, more, the networking is really great because our national event, we're around 4,000 people strong.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It just happened here in San Diego in September. Right. Super big. There's a lot going on. So sometimes people feel like, man, I would have loved to have a little bit more of a smaller, more intimate. Yeah. So we have our regional events for that it'll be 200-300 people.
Yeah, I've been to one.
Oh, very cool.
9 months ago or something like that.
Here in Vegas?
Teresa invited us out there, so we went and checked that out. And it was a great event. Some great speakers, awesome information, and like producers, and also some vendors get to meet some new folks out there. What would you from the real estate side? what is like one piece of advice that you give an agent right now? It can be advice for a brand new agent or advice for an agent that's been in the business for a decade and right now things aren't working the way that they used to work and they're struggling. Because right now, all over Facebook groups, I see what's the best side hustle? What's the best side hustle for real estate agents right now? And so there's a lot of people that are looking outside, but if they focus on themselves and their business, they'd probably be better off. Like, do you have any advice for someone in that situation?
Yeah. So I would say number one, it's your fault. Like, don't blame anybody else. Yeah. It's not the market. It's not your coach. It's not your real estate company. It's your fault. Whatever is happening right now in your results, it's your fault. And the question is, what are you willing to do about it? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have an answer for that, if you are lost with how to find the answer to that question, then that's when you seek out. Yep. You seek out people. You seek out mentors. You seek out, conversations, some coaching opportunities, and you begin to answer that question. What can I do to solve this problem? Meaning you don't have enough business. You're not closing enough transactions. You're not helping enough families. And the reality is the problem is you. That it may be that you don't want to be on social media. You don't want to make a fool of yourself. You don't want to, whatever that case may be, you don't want to make phone calls. You don't want to go and do open houses every weekend like maybe you should if you don't like doing social media. There's so many different ways to be out there and show your value right now, but you have to show it because our industry is just going to get more competitive. And I tell people, and I tell agents that are doing really well, especially here in town, that we're like going toe to toe in regards to our numbers, and we kind of cater to the same community actually. I tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm coming back into town. I've been focused on a national level. I've been super busy. Now I'm coming back. I'm like, I don't like that you're out there outperforming us and my team. And then they smile, right? It's good, friendly, because at the end of the day, it's, if I get obsessed and continue to be obsessed with providing the most tools possible, constantly troubleshoot my processes, then I'm doing that to benefit who? The customer. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're talking about right now. The future belongs to the consumer, the customer. They will decide very quickly who they want to work with, or they will research you very, very detailed, and they'll decide who they want to work with. And if there's a connection, they'll reach out. And then if there's the follow-up and there's that next part, it's like, I like you, you're a great guy, but then when I started reaching out to you, it kind of, you're not going to get the opportunity to do business with people. So you have to really become obsessed with moving forward and building something that clients are truly going to they're truly going to want to be part of. They're going to want to come to you because you're the expert in this area. They're going to and if you don't want all of that and you're thinking this is too much, then you're right. You're going to get washed away, and you should start looking. I tell agents you should start looking for another option quickly, because this is probably not going to be it. Yeah. It's going to be a slow exit for you, and I think that's it. You have to take full responsibility of the results that you're having right now. And I think that's a hard one, because we're all blaming rates, we're all blaming real estate, we're all blaming AI, we have 10,000 things what we're blaming. And there's no reason. There's no reason to get into that when you have a lot of work. Get into solving the problem. You are the problem. And what do you need to start helping families, to start doing what you need to do in real estate? Yeah, your success is the result of your daily actions, for sure, or the sum of your daily actions. Yeah. I absolutely would love to have you back again, because we could go on for a long time. I love your mindset. I love just the way you seem to roll with any punch that's given to you. And I'd love to continue the conversation in the future as well. But if somebody are you hiring for your team? If somebody was looking to get in your team, how would they contact you about joining your team? Yeah, absolutely. So it's Nora Aguirre team. You can find me at Insta. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me pretty much everywhere. You can Google us. Reach out. And we're taking on new agents, brand new agents. We're helping them, and the truth is, I always tell folks, it's either you want to be under a team, which is great and welcome. Or you don't, which is totally fine as well, because clearly that you're going to do 5 transactions a year and you're fine with that and you're good and you can be on your own and we'll help you, we'll help you and give you tools so that you can do that on your own, right? But yeah, we are ramping up the recruitment.
Okay.
But I also take it, it's same thing as with customers. I feel that recruiting agents is the same game as attracting clients.
Yep.
You can sound really good and be really attractive and oh my gosh, but then all of a sudden when they're there, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of lifting that they're going to have to do and as well. So, we're getting into that right now where we're saying, you know what, if you don't want to do it, that's what I'm telling you. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Go find another job. There's a lot of great jobs, in the horizon here, especially with all of this, that you might be really good at. But if you do want to, we're going to be here and we're going to be here for a while. So we're building something great and there is no shortcuts and it's not, going to be easy. And, as much as we love technology and creating content, I know that it's not just that. It's everything else that happens after the fact. And there's an expense for all of it, right? So running a business and being an agent that's everywhere has, a bill, right, at the end of the day. So be ready for all of that. And but if you are and you aspire, I would say that this is one of the best, careers, professions that you could be doing. It's super exciting. I don't know how even though there's challenges, and I can give you a whole, list of 100 challenges, the reward and what you get to do is huge. On top of the fact that you also are going to be your own client. You are also going to want to build your own portfolio. So it's going to be useful in so many different ways, right? If you work on this thing called being a real estate agent.
Well, I will say this. If I had to do it all over again, I would absolutely join a team. And if anybody is out there struggling, I would definitely reach out to Nora for sure. That was one of the things that I go back to the punk rock. I grew up listening to punk rock music. I was in a punk rock band when I was 19, 20. But I've always loved the DIY spirit of that, which has also come back to my challenge is that I think I can do everything. Yeah. And then I try it, and some things I'm successful with, but others I'm I'm too stubborn to butt up against the butt my head up against the wall. So I was at 100% brokerage when I first started out, and I was just I don't need a team. I can learn all this on my own. Yeah. And I did learn a lot, but I will tell you this: it stunted my growth. If I would have had that runway of a team and structure like that, you're offering, that I feel that I would have been exponentially grown much, much faster. Absolutely. But no,
I tell people you're right on the new agents that I tell them interview the best team and interview teams. It doesn't have to be my team, but I would suggest it's not going to be, you do want to be part of a team and you understand it's you're not going to make 100% commission when you jump into this business. Mm-hmm. You're looking at the price tag, you're looking at all this money. We know that every transaction, every deal, everyone's digging deeper into our commission, which is totally fine. But at the end of the day, if you're a new agent and you come in with that, I'm saying no. You got to give this 2 years before you really start seeing the money that you envisioned or that you put down in your book, right? In your manifestation book. Because if you go in it that way, you're going to be more realistic. You're going to really play and learn and understand. Versus you think you're walking in to negotiate commissions at 100%, and at 100% you're not going to get the support. Not because people don't want to, they just don't have time. They just don't have time. This is built. Some of these brokerages, they're built for you to kind of plug and go. Yeah. Right. And so for them to troubleshoot you every hour or every other day, it's not going to be possible. And, so you just have to know that when you're new, because there is a lot of people that walk in and they get discouraged right away. Oh, I'm going to let my real estate license go. I don't think this is the right thing. And it all is because of that mind shift. You have to be willing to give up something in the beginning, especially the first couple of years. Yeah,
I would equate it to almost like your tuition. You're okay with thinking that you go to college for 4 years and you're not making anything. You're actually 100% the opposite way, right? You're paying 100%, but as society, we're okay with that instead of getting into a spot where, because I think a lot of agents will go, their mindset is, what am I missing out on? What are they taking from me instead of what what can I do? So, okay, so I did, because 100% of nothing is nothing.
Yeah.
So you're still have a higher percentage, but also
Yeah.
you're not getting the support and things like that. So
Absolutely.
I think that's very important. Again, I love your mindset. I love, everything that you're doing. It's amazing. Your, the volunteer work that you're doing, thank you for your service as well. I hope that we can get back to this at another time as well. But Nora, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brandon. It was a pleasure.
Here.
Thank you for having me. I'm also a fan as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right.